Hey everyone, it is Sillyman here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to add a death screen to your Roblox game that will show up when a player dies, and they will have to click a button in order to respawn. So let's get started. I'm going to insert a screen GUI into starter GUI, so insert object and then screen GUI. And then inside of this I'm going to insert a frame. I'm going to have this take up the entire screen. Change the size to 1010. And then I'm going to make it red. Then I'll set the transparency. Let's do 0.5. Now one thing you will notice is if we hit play, that this part is not red. So to fix this, it's actually really simple. We click on screen GUI and then we turn on ignore GUI inset, and that should fix it. There we go, the whole screen is now red. Alright, so let's add some text to this. Alright, so let's also add a button to respawn. Then I'm going to add some padding to this button, just to make the text look a little bit better. Alright, I think that looks good. Let's also add a UI corner to give it rounded borders. And I'll add a UI stroke as well. Change this to border, do 3. And let's make the text a little bit more clear. So I'm going to change this to 0.5. Right, I think that looks good. I'll do the stroke to this text as well. Alright, so I'm going to call this frame death screen. And then I'll check off visibility. So now let's do some scripting. So I'm going to insert a script into server script service. So the first thing we need to do is make the death screen appear when the player dies. So I'm going to do local players equals game get service players, and then players dot player added connect function player, and then player dot character added connect function character. Then inside of that we're going to do character wait for child humanoid dot died connect function, and then here we're going to write code which will run when the player's character dies. So to make the death screen visible, we're actually on the server here, so we can't just make it appear. We actually have to fire the client. And in order to do that, we're going to use something called a remote event. So I'm going to go to replicated storage, insert object, and then insert a remote event. I'm going to call this remote event death screen. And then to fire this remote event, we do game.replicatedStorage.deathScreen fire client. Then it's going to take in the parameters of the player we want to fire this to. And then I'm going to make another parameter, which is going to be whether the death screen is going to be visible or not. So in this case, we do want it to be visible. When the player dies, we want the death screen to appear on the player's screen. Okay, so now let's do the client-sided scripting. So inside of the death screen, I'm going to insert a local script. So we need replicated storage. So local replicated storage equals game get service replicated storage. And then we need to write code which will fire when this remote is fired. So we do replicated storage dot death screen dot on client event connect function, and this is going to take in the parameter that we created here. So this is going to be whether or not we want the death screen to be visible. So I'll just call this parameter visible, and then we need to set the visibility of the death screen to whatever this value is. So to do that, we can do let's make a variable here. So local death screen equals script.parent, because the script is inside of the death screen. So to access the death screen, we do local script, or we just do script and then dot parent because the death screen is the parent. And then to set the visibility, we just do death screen dot visible equals this variable here. And then let's also script the respawn button here. So I'm going to make a variable for that. So local respawn button equals, so the respawn button is inside of the death screen, so we can do death screen wait for child respawn. And then we need to make an event for when the player clicks on this button. So we do respawn button dot activated connect function. Now we cannot actually respawn the player on the client. We actually need the server to do this. So we're actually going to create another remote and then fire that to the server. So Control D to duplicate, and then I'm going to change this name of the remote to respawn. So then when the player clicks on the button, we're going to fire to the server this remote. So replicated storage dot respawn fire server. And then on the server, let's actually add the replicated storage here. Then we can remove the game here since it's a variable. And then let's do this remote here. So replicated storage dot respawn dot on server event connect function. So the first parameter is always going to be the player when you do on server event. And we didn't pass in any parameters, so it's just going to be player. And then here we need to respawn the player. So it's actually pretty simple. We just do player load character, and that will respawn the player. And then one more thing we need to do is hide the death screen when the player respawns. So to do that, I'm actually going to come to where it says player.character added, and then I'm actually going to copy this code here, paste it here, and then change this to false. Right, so we're going to fire the remote to the client, the death screen remote, and then make it not visible when the player respawns. And the character added event is what fires when the player respawns. So we're going to put that underneath this event here. And then one more thing we need to do is we need to disable auto respawning. So by default in Roblox, the player will respawn a few seconds after they die. So we actually need to disable that, so that way they can click on the button to respawn. So to do that, we go to the player service and we disable this character auto loads variable here. All right, so that should be it. So I'm going to hit play now. All right, so I thought Roblox was taking forever to load, but actually when we disable this variable here, we actually have to call it when the player joins the game. So under players.playerAdded, we're going to say player load character. And now hopefully it should work. All right, so we spawned in. Let's reset. All right, looks like I'm missing something. All right, so I think the issue is actually we have to move this code down below this event here. Because if we call this first, then this event won't be created yet. So this code won't run in that case. So let's try that now maybe. So reset. There we go. We have the death screen. And if I wait a few seconds, I shouldn't respawn because we disabled the variable here. So it's been a few seconds and I'm still on the screen. So now if I hit the respawn button, I will respawn. So that is going to be it for today's video. So if you found this video helpful, please leave a like and I will see you all in the next video.